This was it, the signature that would erase a multi-billion-dollar empire. Jonathan Sterling, a man who once had the world at his fingertips, was about to sign it all away. His entire team of high-priced lawyers and financial advisors had missed something. Everyone had. Everyone. Except for the one person in the room no one ever thought to notice. The one who moved through the halls like a ghost, armed not with a briefcase, but with a bucket and a mop. This is the incredible story of how her hidden genius saved an empire from total ruin. Jonathan Sterling wasn't just a businessman, he was a titan. He was the visionary who had built Sterling Innovations from a dusty garage into a global tech giant. His face was on magazine covers, world leaders wanted his advice, and his fortune was the stuff of legends. He had a mind that saw 10 years into the future and a charisma that could win over anyone. His company didn't just sell products, it shaped the future, with innovations that had touched millions of lives. The Sterling Tower, a gleaming monument of glass and steel, scraped the sky, a very literal testament to his success. Inside, an army of the world's brightest minds worked tirelessly to keep the empire growing. Then the floor fell out from under him. It started as a whisper, a rumor about financial trouble that quickly exploded into a full-blown crisis. A series of disastrous investments, later revealed to be corporate sabotage, had crippled the company. To make matters worse, a coordinated cyber attack wiped out critical data, creating a perfect storm of chaos. The media, who once sang his praises, turned on him with predatory glee. Headlines screamed of his failure, his arrogance, and his inevitable downfall. The board of directors, people he once called friends, backed away, their faces grim masks of betrayal. Now he sat alone in the cavernous boardroom on the top floor. Below, the city lights twinkled, a world away from the cold, crushing darkness that surrounded him. Before him lay a stack of papers, a bankruptcy declaration that felt more like a tombstone. His legal team, with their $1,000 suits, had spent weeks on this. They all said there was no way out. It was over. That signature line was just waiting, a black hole ready to swallow everything he had ever built. Defeated, he picked up the pen. It felt impossibly heavy. Final. Miles away from the sterile opulence of Sterling Tower, Maya Williams started her day long before the sun came up. Her world wasn't made of glass towers and stock tickers. It was made of quiet streets and the hum of a city still asleep. Maya was one of the invisible people who kept the city running, a cleaner on the night crew. To the executives at Sterling Innovations, she was just a shadow, as unremarkable as the polished floors she cleaned. But Maya was a genius hiding in plain sight. Years ago, she'd walked the halls of MIT, her mind lit up by algorithms and complex problems. She graduated with honors, her future looking limitless. But life, as it so often does, had other plans. A series of family crises forced her to abandon her career in tech to become a caregiver. By the time she could return to work, the industry had moved on. That once coveted degree was now just a piece of paper, a painful reminder of the life she almost had. To make ends meet, she took the only job she could find with the right hours, cleaning offices. Her work was a study in precision and observation. While others saw drudgery, Maya saw patterns. She moved through the empty offices with a methodical grace, her brain naturally organizing the chaos left behind. She saw the rhythm in discarded coffee cups, the logic in stacks of paper, the stories told on a whiteboard. Her invisibility was her superpower. Overlooked and underestimated, she saw the company from the ground up. She saw the late-night anxiety on the faces of junior analysts and heard the frantic, whispered phone calls of executives who thought they were alone. To the world, Maya was just a cleaning lady, but in the quiet hours of the night, her brilliant mind was still very much alive, just waiting for a problem to solve. It was 3 a.m. The Sterling Tower was a ghost town, and the air was thick with the scent of defeat. As Maya emptied the trash in the main boardroom, a room usually littered with champagne corks, she noticed it was instead filled with balled-up spreadsheets and legal docs. One crumpled page caught her eye. It was from a draft of the bankruptcy filing. She was about to toss it when a single line, circled in angry red ink, made her pause. Total consolidated debt, $847 million. It wasn't the number itself that stopped her. It was the fact that it felt wrong. Just an hour earlier, while cleaning the CFO's office, she'd glanced at a monitor that was left on. It showed a different financial projection. And on that screen, she was sure she'd seen a different number for the total debt. Her mind, trained to spot anomalies, flagged the inconsistency instantly. She smoothed out the crumpled paper on her cart. It felt wrong to even look at it. This wasn't her business. But the part of her that lived and breathed data had a deep-seated need for accuracy. A discrepancy this huge wasn't the typo, it was a canyon. Driven by an instinct she hadn't felt in years, she did something she'd never done before. She slipped the paper into her pocket. Later, as she passed the boardroom again, the door was slightly ajar. Her own janitorial keycard could open it. She hesitated, her heart pounding. This was a line she'd never even thought about crossing. But the number from the CFO's screen battled with the number on the paper in her pocket. Years of budgeting her own life down to the last penny had given her a sharp instinct for when things don't add up. Something was fundamentally wrong here. Taking a shaky breath, she pushed the door open and slipped into the dark, silent room. Inside the boardroom, the air was cold and still. The immense mahogany table reflected the ghostly city lights, and right there on its surface lay the master copy of the bankruptcy document ready for the morning's final, fatal signature. Maya's hands trembled. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, to go back to her cart and forget she saw anything. She was a cleaner, a ghost. What could she possibly do? They'd think I was crazy, or worse, that I was involved. I imagined an executive's condescending glare before they called security. The fear of losing my job, the only thing keeping my family afloat, was a cold knot in my stomach. I thought of my past, of the brilliant engineer I was supposed to be. I remembered the thrill of solving an impossible puzzle. That part of me, that part that demanded solutions, was at war with the part that had learned to be invisible. I looked at the document on the table. This was the biggest puzzle of my life. Walking away felt like giving up on the person I used to be. My father's words echoed in my memory. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing even when you're terrified. I couldn't confront anyone. They'd never listen. I had to get the information to the one person with the power to stop this, but in a way that couldn't be instantly dismissed. Her eyes darted around the room and landed on a small notepad by Jonathan Sterling's seat. An idea, desperate and risky, began to form.
With shaking hands, she tore off a small sheet. Her handwriting, usually so neat, was shaky from adrenaline. She kept it simple, factual, anonymous. She wrote, "Mr. Sterling, check the consolidated debt on page 7 before you sign. Compare it to the raw server logs in the Finance Debt's Project Nightingale folder. The numbers don't match. Something is wrong." She placed the small folded note directly on top of the signature line, a place he couldn't possibly miss. Then, as quietly as she came in, she slipped out, her heart pounding. She had done it. She had spoken up in the only way she could. Now, all she could do was pray someone would listen. At 7:45 a.m., Jonathan Sterling walked into the boardroom like a man on his way to the gallows. His face was a mask of exhaustion. He saw the note immediately, a small, insignificant piece of paper on the document symbolizing his total failure. His first instinct was to brush it aside, but its placement, right on the signature line, gave him pause. He unfolded it. The message was cryptic, but direct. Project Nightingale. He vaguely remembered the name, a deep-dive financial analysis his CFO had started months ago. Why would a note about server logs be here? Who could have left it? His lawyers were gone. The only other people in the building were the cleaning staff. The idea was absurd, and yet, what did he have left to lose? The signature could wait 5 more minutes. He walked over to the console, his fingers stiff. He pulled up the server directories, skeptical, and found the Project Nightingale folder. He opened the raw data logs, something he hadn't looked at himself in years. He cross-referenced the numbers with the figures in the bankruptcy document. At first, nothing. Then he saw it. a single line of code, almost perfectly hidden, that rerouted a massive block of debt from a subsidiary that had already been sold. It was making it appear as if Sterling Innovation still owned that debt. It was an accounting trick, a phantom liability of over $200 million. His breath caught. The number on the bankruptcy papers was a lie. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. This was fraud. A surge of cold, fierce adrenaline shot through him. The fog of despair lifted, replaced by a razor-sharp anger. Someone had set him up. Someone on the inside had manufactured his company's downfall. He tore through the data, his mind now working with the furious speed that had made him a billionaire. He found more. Falsified invoices, ghost payments, a whole web of deceit designed to bleed the company dry and force a fraudulent bankruptcy. The empire wasn't collapsing. It was being demolished from within, and an anonymous note left by a ghost had just handed him the sledgehammer he needed to tear their whole scheme apart. He looked at the bankruptcy papers, then at the note. He wasn't signing a thing. He was going to war. The emergency board meeting was called for 9 a.m. The room was thick with tension. The grim-faced executives assumed Sterling was about to announce the end. They were wrong. Jonathan Sterling strode into the room, but he wasn't the defeated man from the day before. His eyes burned with a cold fire. In his hand he held Maya's crumpled note. "Good morning," he said, his voice ringing with authority they hadn't heard in months. "The signing has been postponed, indefinitely." A shocked murmur went through the room. Richard Vail, the CFO, a man Sterling had trusted for 20 years, spoke first. "Jonathan, we've been over this. It's painful, but it's necessary." "Oh, I agree things are about to get much worse, Richard, for some of us." He walked to the head of the table and lit up the large screen on the wall with the raw data from Project Nightingale. "I had some interesting late-night reading," he said, his voice dangerously calm. "I seem our books have been telling a fascinating work of fiction." He laid it all out, his words like hammer blows. He showed them the phantom debt, the rerouted liabilities, the ghost invoices, all tracing back to offshore shell corporations. Then he displayed the final piece of evidence, wire transfers showing millions moving from those shell corporations into a private account, an account belonging to Richard Vail. The room went dead silent. The color drained from Vail's face. He stammered, denied it, that the evidence was right there in high definition for everyone to see. "You were my friend, Richard. I trusted you, and you drove a knife into this company's back, hoping to pick up the pieces for pennies on the dollar." Security entered the room. The game was over. As they escorted the trembling Richard Vail out of the boardroom, Sterling held up the small note. "This company wasn't saved by our expensive experts or our legal team. It was saved by this, by someone who was paying attention, someone we all overlooked." The arrest of Richard Vail and his conspirators sent shockwaves through the financial world. The story of the elaborate fraud became front-page news. With the fake debt erased, Sterling Innovations was pulled back from the brink. The bankruptcy was off. But for Jonathan Sterling, this was more than a financial victory. The crisis had burned away his arrogance. He'd been humbled, brought to his knees, and saved by the one person he'd never even seen. He realized his empire wasn't built on glass and steel, but on people, and he had been blind to their true worth. His first act wasn't to call investors, but to find the author of the note. It didn't take long. Security footage showed Maya Williams entering the boardroom. He found her during her shift, quietly polishing the brass plaque outside his own office. At first, he just stood there, watching the woman who had saved everything he had ever built. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. He didn't offer her a reward. He offered her respect. He asked for her story. He listened, captivated, as she spoke of MIT, of the dreams she'd put on hold, and of the things she noticed while cleaning his offices. The next day, Sterling called a company-wide assembly. In front of everyone, from top executives to the mailroom, he told them exactly what had happened, and then he called Maya Williams to the stage. "This is the woman who saved Sterling Innovations," he announced. "She saw what we were all blind to because she has integrity and a brilliant mind." If this story reminds you that heroes are found in the most unexpected places, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their job title doesn't define their worth. And comment below with a time you saw the hidden genius in someone others overlooked. Maya Williams never cleaned another floor. Jonathan Sterling created a new position just for her. Head of a new internal oversight and analytics division, a department tasked with ensuring total transparency. She was finally given a salary that reflected her genius. Her son's college was fully funded, and she stepped back into the world she'd been forced to leave behind. Her story became a legend at the company, a constant reminder of the day their entire world was saved by the person no one saw. Jonathan rebuilt his empire, but on a new foundation. He created programs to promote from within and to listen to employees at every level. He learned that true vision isn't about seeing 10 years into the future. It's about really seeing the person standing right in front of you. The real treasure he recovered wasn't his fortune, but his humanity. And it was all thanks to the quiet courage of a cleaning lady who spoke up when the whole world was silent.